What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome to another video. It's currently 9:11 p.m. Whoops. On Monday the 8th of Jan. And yeah, let's get straight into things. So you'll see that we had a down close day just as anticipated. We're starting to push down towards the weekly bullish order block I have delineated, the daily bullish order block, and that weekly rejection block I also marked out in yesterday's video. So we're going to drop down to lower time frames to get a better look at price action. But one thing to take note of first is on the daily, you'll see that the high was made. Let me just change this. You'll see that we made the high of the day at the 25% level of Friday's wick. So when price trades to 25% levels, it shows a level of bearishness as it's failing to reach 50% level, which is consequent encroachment. So this is nice to see, and it's supportive of our bias. But tomorrow I'm definitely looking for a rundown into Friday's low, and like I said, that weekly bullish order block that we have delineated here, and then the daily bullish order block as well, and then of course this volume imbalance below here. So let's drop down to the 4 hour and see what we can find. And you'll see how price traded higher into the fair value gap, which I also delineated yesterday. Volume did remain below. Again, it's very important to look at volume. Volume is what allows us to get a better understanding of what price action wants to do. So although we wicked through it completely and closed the range in with the wicks, volume is ignoring this fair value gap. And then you can see we traded aggressively lower, starting to run towards this rejection block. Now the rejection block is actually here. I'm going to make it red. So I can imagine once price does start to push through here, we are likely to experience a lot of resistance. And the reason for this is because the rejection block is almost like an order block. So tomorrow when price does reach down into here, yes, we are going to sweep these lows, but we'll likely find some kind of resistance at the 50% level, and then I'd like to see us push lower and run down towards the weekly bullish order block, and like I said, start to fill this imbalance we have on the left side here. So let's drop down to a lower time frame, the 1 hour, and you can see how price kind of consolidated its way up before falling, and now we're just kind of retracing. One thing to take note of on the 15-minute, I did mark out this as buy side liquidity. In yesterday's video, I was saying I want to see price grab that before moving lower, and you can see we've done that nicely right here. The fact that we traded away from this level now, I do want to bring our attention to the low of this bearish order block. And the reason for that is because this bearish order block, although we traded up through it and took out the buy side of it, now that we've traded away from it, there is still a possibility that we may return back to it. So with that in mind, if price does return back into this order block low, which is going to be this line here, if we trade back into that, I'd like to think that we can use this as a area to start looking for sales from, because it should act as a bearish order block again, almost like a reclaimed block. So that's one thing to take note of. It's quite complicated in terms of explaining it. I don't know how to explain it that clearly, but basically this range, we've traded through it on the upside, downside, left the range. So now again, like I said, if price does manage to reach back up there, I want to see it push price and propel price lower and running into the lows that I have my eyes set on down here. But first, of course, we need to get through that rejection block. So let's now go over to GBP. And you'll see that GBP delivered just as I outlined yesterday. Now we did trade slightly lower than anticipated, but that's not a problem. So here's the daily. And I need to just, got a lot of lines on here that I don't need. So I'm still looking at this buy side liquidity as a draw, and you can see we're starting to push up towards that. So tomorrow I'd like to think that we can draw up into that completely. We traded lower into the inversion fair value gap, and you'll remember me saying that I want to see this inversion fair value gap act as a springboard higher, and that's exactly what happened. We traded down to the bottom of it, and then look what happened. Price launched it back up, and now we're running up towards that buy side liquidity, which is lovely to see. On the 4 hour, you can see we come down. Volume again. Volume actually respects the 25% level. Let me just show you. So volume is respecting the 25% level of the fair value gap. So this is similar to what I was just showing in dollar. Yes, we had the 50% level delineated, and I didn't want volume to close below it. However, the fact that we're respecting the 25% level as well, again, shows a level of bullishness, which is in line with our bias. We still have this 4-hour imbalance over here. I also drew our attention to that yesterday as well. So price may want to work its way into that. And then we have weekly relative equal highs if we do get overzealous. So that's something to take into consideration. Let's drop down to the 1 hour and have a better look. So I have got all these lines overly thick right now. Let me just get these sorted for us. So what I've done is I've dragged out the Asia range from 7 p.m. until midnight on Monday, and you can see I've dragged that out right through the day to see how price traded through it. So we obviously took out the lows first and then ran for the highs, classic price action. As we came to the lows, we traded down into this breaker. We got a low, a high, a lower low, and then we break higher. So this candle is what we actually traded into, and you can see we traded nicely into that. Now this says anticipated breakaway gap, and that's because in yesterday's video on the 15-minute time frame, I did bring our attention to this fair value gap. I was anticipating this to be left open. However, looking at price action now and realizing this order block, it was this low that we were targeting. The same way that dollar took out that high on the 15-minute, pound took out this low. Walt's closing in this inverted fair value gap, and look at the reaction of that. We trade nicely out of it, and then as soon as New York AM session opened, we run higher again, finding support within the Asian range, and then we nicely just traded higher and kept spooling higher up into the buy side. Not quite reaching that buy side liquidity yet above this high, not quite getting there just yet, but we can anticipate that to be taken out tomorrow. So in terms of low of the week tomorrow, well, I'm anticipating some kind of liquidity to be engineered. This swing low looks quite nice to me, so I'm going to draw that out. And the reason for that is because we're going to need to have some kind of Judas swing in the new day. Now, obviously, we've still got a solid, how many hours? We've still got another like 8 hours left of the day. So, you know, a lot can happen, and obviously we've got another Asian range that's going to form. But generally speaking, it's possible that price may want to come down below the south side liquidity, find support on yesterday's Asia range high, because remember, price refers to these levels. It may find support here and then again springboard higher, running for that buy side liquidity and potentially for that weekly relative equal high. So it's just a matter of waiting, but overall I am still bullish, and I'd want to be buying or looking for buys below the midnight and London open in price. So let's go now onto Euro to finish. Euro delivered absolutely gorgeously. I'm very happy. So Euro, yesterday's video again, I was mentioning this Thursday high as a target. You can see we've taken that out beautifully. We still have the weekly bearish order block, daily bearish order block, and weekly rejection block. I'll show you that now. We have this as a target on the weekly, so I am anticipating price to want to continue to push higher and run into Friday's high tomorrow, or running into Wednesday. On the 4 hour, not really much. We came down, traded back into this wick, so we had a nice rebalance in there, and then you can see the reaction off of that. Let's now go to the 1 hour. Again, Asian range, I drew that out. We came down, traded nicely into this wick's high, and then we've just kind of sidestepped our way up through the Asian range in order to push higher and run towards this rejection block that we have residing right here. Now, we traded just about into that rejection block, and you can see our price is already turning away from that. That's one thing to take note of. Let's just go to the 15-minute. There is a lot on my screen right now, guys, so apologies. But here was a optimal entry, breaker. We've got a low, high, lower low, break higher. So this fair value gap was a beautiful entry to go long on. And then, of course, we distributed our positions above Thursday's highs, just as anticipated. Let's just get rid of that. And yeah, now we're just in a slight retracement, but what I'm going to do again is I'm going to drag yesterday's Asian range right through, because I'm anticipating it to still provide support. So I am still going to be watching this 50% level of the range, seeing how we react to it, and preferably I'd like to think that it continue to show support so that we can push higher in the new day. But yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see really. The idea, or my goal, is to again buy below the midnight and or London open, and then hopefully price will then find a PD array that it can use to springboard higher and run towards these highs. Do we have high impact news? Let me double check. So we do have some news tomorrow. We've got balance of trade, and then for the rest of the week we do have CPI on the Thursday, and we also have some high PPI on the Friday. So we can anticipate the end of the week to be quite volatile, and that's why I'm a bit cautious with this beginning of the week, because I wouldn't be surprised if we're quite consolidated running into Thursday and Friday. So it's best to be a little bit more wary, especially after how much movement we've had on the Monday. I wouldn't be surprised if Tuesday wasn't too active, but it's just a waiting game. Overall, though, my bias is I still want to see higher prices, but it is making its way up there in a very ugly fashion, as you can see. But I do realize that once it does break out this consolidation, because we're in this clear consolidation right now, once it does eventually break out, it'll probably do it aggressively and, you know, with animation, which is what we want to see. So that's going to be everything, guys. I hope you guys found this insightful, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.